Which would you rather have, the emotional damage or the sulfuric acid? All right, welcome back Twitch and YouTube to just another game. Master Detective Archives rank code. Let's head down the rabbit hole, really. This is getting quite complex.
So if I didn't know about the security and had rushed into the lab...
You'd be a super sexy skeleton right now.
Aren't I like 13?
Aw, so close.
You want that?
But the doctor's plan failed, and he actually got boom killed by the hitman. I get what he was trying to do, but what about the impossible murder?
Assuming the attack on the doctor was just an act when we saw him through the intercom, we at least know for sure the real attack hadn't happened yet.
In other words, the culprit entered the lab after that exchange. So the problem is, when did they actually enter?
Where are we?
This is an art style
This
change.
place is a real mystery. Then again, I suppose that checks out.
Huh? Shinigami?
Yeah! Master, this looks like an important turning point!
Oh, she's cute.
So, is that your final answer?
I haven't said anything yet!
The culprit entered the lab before Amapal.
Master, you need to narrow down the timing for when the culprit got inside. Now then, here's a fateful fork in the road. It's life or death! We're at the crossroads of mystery and solution. This earth-shattering choice may be your last. Now, Master, which one will you choose?
The culprit entered the lab before Amapal. Yes or no? Well, the obvious answer at this point is no. Or is it? Oh, actually, okay, never mind. Yeah. This, like I said, this is a little bit fluid. And actually, this is very specific. Technically, yes, the culprit did enter the lab before Amapal.
When I directed Amapal to go into the doctor's lab, he already had a knife stuck in him. Which means he was murdered before Amapal entered the doctor's lab.
Your answer?
I can't really explain my thinking here
Is correct!
without spoilers, but in a very literal way,
Would you like to double down?
yes, the evidence does suggest
What
the
are you
culprit entered the
talking
lab
about?
before Amapal.
Anyway, let's keep going.
I guess I could say I was thinking if the incident was fake, then the culprit couldn't have entered before hang on a second.
Little by little, we're narrowing down when the culprit
Yeah,
entered.
exactly. Technically,
Yeah,
if you count
but
that
we
as
still don't know how
entering the
yet.
lab, then yes,
It
the
had to be
culprit
between
entered
when we
before
spoke to the doctor over the
Amapal.
intercom
Whereas I was
and when
originally
Amapal entered
thinking
his lab.
if the
During that
prior
time, the
incident
culprit
was
entered
fake,
the doctor's lab and murdered him.
then the culprit couldn't
So
have
the most
entered before
likely time
Amapal
would be
because
when
we
you
went to go get
borrow
Amapal.
Master? The culprit had to have entered the lab then.
But Fubuki waited at the front chamber while Desuhiko and I went to borrow Amapal. She said no one entered or left the lab.
See, that's why I was originally saying no. But then again, I also know the solution, so that is affecting my thinking a bit. This is one of those situations where I'm already thinking a few steps ahead of where the game wants me to be. An adventure game like a novel game, an adventure game like this really wants to spell the
We're
steps
back on
one
the
by
original
one.
path.
Maybe you're supposed to try opening that door now.
I'm sure that from here on out, it's not just about when, but also how the culprit got in. Yuma, there's no need to push yourself if things get too hard.
No, I can do it. I'm going to solve it.
Where was the culprit before the crime?
This is a map of the critical lab.
So we have to determine where the culprit was before the murder.
We'll have to solve them one at a time. Let's start with this mystery.
If we know where the culprit was before they got in, this route will be clear too. Do you know where, Yuma?
There's only one place that the culprit could be. Obviously, it's not the lab because the lab was sealed. And to get in the electrical room, you'd have to pass through the toxic gas room, and you had no idea of knowing when the door is going to be open. You can't be here because we had people here already. Fubuki was here. So the only safe place, and the only place there was a hiding spot, was in the airlock.
Here. The culprit must have been here.
It opened!
After the exchange on the intercom, given there was always a detective at the front chamber, when we went to borrow Amapal, the culprit had to have already made their way inside. But the airlock is the only location that isn't affected by the security system. There. The culprit had to be inside that decontamination device before committing the crime.
But I thought he was just hiding in there to avoid being spotted after the crime.
¿Por qué no los dos?
So you think the culprit was in there before the crime too?
Yeah, the culprit was waiting for their chance. But we had no idea when we sent Amapel into the airlock.
And from there, Yuma, you guided Amapal to the doctor's lab. So the culprit entered the doctor's lab before then? How would that be possible? Only Amapal could get past security, right?
Yeah, that's the next big question.
I kind of think a big question is why the mystery labyrinth is falling apart.
No, the researcher mentioned there was only one functioning Amapal.
Which means the Amapal Yuma controlled was the only one that could get past security.
So the culprit must have taken advantage of Master's Amapal to get into the doctor's lab.
Yeah, that's the only way. But how did they use it? There's no solving the doctor's murder until we figure that out.
Well, I have an idea. Will you hear me out?
What is it?
How about giving up? I'm getting tired.
Nope, motion denied. Another fork in the road? Such a complicated mystery labyrinth.
I'm not even going to protest this time. How did the culprit use Amapal?
Beyond each problem lies the truth. We're definitely getting closer to the heart of this mystery.
Did the intruder use Amapal as a weapon? That would have been impossible. Amapal doesn't really have any combat capabilities. Neither does it have any shielding capabilities. So the only answer is neither. Not as a weapon or as a shield.
Do you think neither is really the right answer?
Given the process of elimination, that must be it. Amapel's hands aren't designed to hold anything, so it couldn't use the knife to murder the doctor. Which means Amapel wasn't the murder weapon. And the culprit couldn't have used it as a shield. It can't neutralize the toxic gas, and the high voltage shock would destroy it.
So then, how did the culprit use Amapel?
I think we'll find out if we continue down this path.
Oh, but the path is no more.
That was the wrong answer! Come on, Master!
Ow!
Huh? We're...
We've been here before. It looks like we've been brought back.
But the door we opened earlier is closed again. Why's that?
Yeah, I wonder why.
I'm going to be the anemic vampire. Where was the culprit before the crime?
The question is the same. Does that mean we gotta do it all over again?
Well, the logic is still sound. There's no other hiding spot for the culprit besides the airlock.
So you want to choose the same answer and keep going?
If you do, you'll just repeat the whole process again. We'll just be brought back here if we can't figure out how did the culprit use Amapel. And I refuse to walk any more than I have to.
That's a cute pose.
Hey, don't sit down!
Step on him, Shinigami. It's what he
should
wants.
I do?
Stand up! Stand up right now!
Stop it. Leave me alone.
If you want me to leave you alone, then help my useless master out!
Fine. Just one thing then. We're back at where was the culprit before the crime? Because you're stuck at how did the culprit use Amapel? With that in mind, these two questions are connected.
Connected? Both the culprit's location and how Amapel was used?
Help him out more! More!
The culprit was hiding in the airlock, where you also left the robot, right? At that moment, only the culprit and Amapel were there. So maybe the culprit did something.
The culprit did something to Amapel?
Clues are always there, right under your nose. It's a detective's job to notice them. Did you notice anything strange back then? Any tiny detail? Try to remember.
Something strange. Hey! Now that you mention it, back then...
Oh, hey, the screen lit up. So this is what Amapel sees. It's like the cockpit of a mecha.
Whoa, what was that?
Did it break already? I thought it was state of the art.
No, it's alright. It's stabilized. There was a moment when the camera stopped functioning while I was controlling Amapel. It returned to normal pretty quick, but maybe...
See? I told you it was right under your nose. You don't need any additional help from me, right?
That was a clue to help solve this mystery?
Actually, everything in this world is a key to solving mysteries. You just haven't noticed them. Perhaps there is more you're overlooking. Was there anything else unusual?
Something unusual. Something I missed.
Anything else? It's not like Amapal's camera showed the culprit.
Wait, that's it!
Huh?
Now that I think about it, wasn't that strange? The culprit must have gotten ahead of Amapal, but why didn't they ever show up on the camera? If the culprit went past Amapal to enter the doctor's lab, they would have been spotted for sure.
Now that you mention it,
But nobody showed up on camera. How did the culprit manage to pull that off? How can you move from the airlock to the doctor's lab without appearing even once on Amapal's camera?
Right, is
Hey,
everyone getting this?
aren't you just adding another mystery?
No. All the pieces are here.
Huh?
Yuma, the mysteries you face now can be solved with a single answer.
A single answer?
Sheesh. I talk too much.
So I guess you don't really want to die someday.
Whoa, one mystery after another! What did you do now? It's a Pandora's box of mysteries!
Let's stay calm and think about it. There's plenty of time.
Why do you say
Or
things?
not. I'll keep reading while you wrap things up.
I don't think that couch is safe.
Remember what he said, Master. All it takes is one answer to solve these mysteries. Use those weak brain cells of yours and think!
Culprit's location. Amapal's usage. Its malfunction. Why didn't the culprit appear on camera? All this can be solved with just one answer?
Where was the culprit before the crime? On top of Amapal's head. How did the culprit use Amapal? As transportation. What caused Amapal's malfunction in the airlock? The culprit jumped on it. Why didn't the culprit appear on camera? Because they were on top of the head.
I got it! The culprit rode on Amapal's head, using it as a method of transportation.
The door opened!
With every open door, it will be harder for you to turn back. Are you sure you want to keep going?
Absolutely. I will find the truth no matter what. This is for the Nocturnal Detective Agency.
Hey, you said the culprit rode on top of Amapal. What did you mean by that?
Literally what I said. The culprit rode Amapal and used it to get through.
There are several problems with this theory.
After we left Amapal in
Not
the
to say that
airlock,
it's not right.
The culprit came out of the decontamination device. Then they jumped on Amapal's head. The disruption in the footage was from the impact.
That's insane.
Is it? I think it's fairly reasonable.
Well, you're also a little insane.
Amapal can withstand up to 100 kilograms of weight. So, someone riding on it shouldn't affect its functionality.
But it
The
won't
shoe
protect
print on
them from the
Amapal's
gas
head
or the
wasn't
electric
caused by someone
shocks,
kicking it.
as we've established.
It was left there from the culprit hopping on and off.
After that, the culprit simply rode on it as it moved toward the doctor's lab. By doing so, the culprit was able to evade the camera and remain hidden as they made their way through the lab.
You're right. If it's true, then it does solve all of the previous mysteries.
It just opens up a bunch of new ones.
Imagining the culprit riding on a robot makes me
But Yuma, have you not realized it? You're still missing something. One major mystery remains.
What's with that huge sigh?
The greatest mystery of this case should appear soon. Just the thought of it gets me feeling down.
This case's greatest mystery?
Back again.
This is the panel chamber.
That means the doctor's lab is just beyond it. If we can get through here, we'll reach the goal, yeah?
When did the culprit get off Amapal?
Is this the greatest mystery you mentioned?
No.
Not exactly what I was envisioning.
Well, this is the mystery to be solved, so let's clear it out.
Beats me.
When would it have been possible for them to get into the room ahead? When did the culprit get off Amapal? Hang on a sec. When would it have been possible for them to get into the room ahead of us? It would have been before opening the door, or when going through the door. But while opening the door, certainly possible, because Amapal can't move.
The culprit murdered the doctor before Amapal entered the room. Which means the culprit had to have gotten ahead of Amapal at some point. It was when the door first opened. At that moment, the culprit snuck into the doctor's room.
Yeah, when the doors were slowly opening, just like this. That's when the culprit took their chance.
So, here's why... I'm gonna go and pause here. Here's why the Mystery Labyrinth wanted us to solve this mystery first. This implies, or directly states, that the culprit survived the trip across the voltage room. Now, how did they do that? A spacesuit to protect them from the gas wouldn't protect them from the
For a
electricity.
person to slip through, the culprit hopped off and went inside.
Like this? We still haven't reached the goal. I thought we could get into the doc's lab now.
Because of Fubuki's forte, technically Amapal never got shocked. You should think about that a little harder.
Is this a joke to you? Your deduction is full of holes. If this is a joke, it's not very funny.
Master, you know what to do.
Of course.
I'll take your garbage deduction and toss it in the trash. I am the Saint of Kanai Ward, protecting it from filth like you!
Reasoning deathmatch. Round 3. Discuss.
The culprit hopped off Amapal as the door opened,
With
then slipped through the
violence.
gap in the door.
God damn it, I jumped.
That's impossible even for Fink the Slaughter Artist! Think about it. If Amapal's line of sight changed just a bit, the camera would have caught it. No one would do something
it.
so risky.
The timing of his words is actually
The
very
crime
tricky.
would have been exposed.
He changes
The
pace
culprit
quite
must
a
be
bit.
really lucky.
Or they use... Oh no, that's not the statement.
What does that mean?
If it wasn't just luck that they didn't show up on camera, the problem is how to prove it. Okay, so at that time, Amapal had its arm stretched out toward the button to discover the security. Okay, I got it. Amapal had its arm outstretched, which means it can move. That may be a clue. But if Amapal had gotten
The
shot, it
culprit
would have
hopped
been
on
broken.
Amapal as the door opened,
Keep
then
thinking
slipped
about
through the
that.
gap in the door. That's impossible, even for Fink the Slaughter Artist. Think about it. If Amapal's line of sight changed just a bit, the camera would have caught it. No one would do something so risky.
I think that's the
The
statement I have to
crime
use
would
this
have been
on.
exposed. The culprit must be really lucky. What? Did they use some sort of special power?
Right.
No.
For now.
If Amapal had gotten shocked, it would have been broken. You're not wrong. That
culprit
technically
hopped on Amapal
Amapal
as
never
the door
got
opened.
shot.
Then slipped through the gap in the door?
How lucky
That's impossible, even for Fink the Slaughter Artist.
the hitman.
Think about it. If Amapal's line of sight changed just a bit,
There we go.
Flash through this mystery. Amapel is designed so that when its hand is stretched out, it won't execute any other inputs.
Oh, right.
That's why when it was pressing the button for the door, the culprit didn't show up on the camera.
you little maggots, don't get so full of yourselves.
As well planned as everything was, he probably did know about Fubica's forte. He didn't leave it up to luck.
You're not getting out of here alive.
I get it. So Amapal couldn't move while the door was opening. That's when the culprit took their chance.
Since the door opens outward, it's possible to take advantage of the blind spot it creates. That's how the culprit managed to stay outside the camera's view as they entered the doctor's room.
So it's an elaborate murder that took advantage of Amapal's design, and even the direction the door opens. Whoever planned this must have really wanted the doctor dead. I guess you can call it an obsession. How scary. Just like this passage.
I don't like the way Vivia just kind of pops in the
Where
camera
will it
view because it's so
take us?
tall.
Perhaps a suite with the culprit's obsession on full display.
I'm not moving, but
Room of
they just keep
nightmares.
popping Vivia here right behind us, which
Knock it
doesn't
off
happen
the
with
weird
the other ones.
soliloquies. Let's go.
You're really going?
Huh?
Again? What's with this thing?
Hey, Yuma. When the culprit entered the doctor's room while the door was open,
Huh? Yeah?
at the time, the doctor was in the room, right? If the door opened and an intruder entered, how could the doctor not have noticed?
Well, that we
So
know.
what if he did notice? It's not a big deal.
Yes, it is. If he had noticed an intruder, the doctor would have turned to face him. Which means he wouldn't have been stabbed in the back.
That piece of trash is right. Your logic is flawed.
Hey, what are you, on the Phantom side now?
Listen to my incredible words of wisdom. Your crappy deduction is worth less than shit! Everything you do is a fucking mistake!
Well, that's rude. That's very hurtful. That's extremely hurtful. You shouldn't say things like that. People have feelings too. Reasoning Deathmatch, round 4. Discuss with violence.
Damn it!
Alright, this is repel.
Your deduction is inconsistent! It's full of inconsistencies! By your logic, even if the doctor could be stabbed, it wouldn't be from behind.
That claim doesn't hold up! No, the culprit did stab the doctor in the back. That's how the body was discovered.
That's why I'm saying your deduction is inconsistent. By your logic, the doctor couldn't have been murdered in that way!
The doctor's notes, information on Dr. West got a lab
The
map,
culprit.
and what else? Think the slaughter artist's knife.
Quickly enter the lab.
Oh god, that's
But the
fast.
doctor was in the room at the time, right? There's no way he missed an intruder.
He
Running
is
is
tricky.
noisy.
The doctor... Okay. Not the right statement, but the right idea. The intruder would have needed to kill the doctor quickly, so why wouldn't they have been running?
Yeah.
According to that solution key, the doctor was hard of hearing.
The culprit quickly entered the lab. But the doctor was in the room at the time, right? There's no way he missed an intruder. Running is noisy. So Wesker would have heard and turned to face the culprit.
There we go.
And his chest would have been stabbed, not his back. Unless you think the doctor was asleep. Is there any trace of him being drugged? Even if he didn't look back from his desk, he would have heard someone coming!
There we go. That's it.
This is the truth! Wait, the doctor had trouble hearing. That's why he didn't notice the intruder.
Now you're spouting nonsense. Say whatever you want, it won't save you. There's a gaping hole in your logic, and there's no way you're gonna fill it at this rate. Because you, more than anyone else, you're the one refusing to see the truth right before your eyes.
What? I refuse to see the truth? Vivius said the same thing, but...
It's strange, don't you think? Isn't it about time you noticed that something's off here?
Huh?
You've solved many mysteries up to now, yet none of them are directly connected to the culprit's identity.
That's because the culprit is the hitman.
If that's the case, why haven't you reaped the hitman's soul? That would end the labyrinth.
It's not that easy. The culprit will fight back, unless we solve all the mysteries first. Hang on. What are you getting at?
In my eyes, the reason a single mystery hasn't been directly connected to the culprit is because of Yuma's reluctance. It's pushing away the mysteries that lead to the culprit.
Huh?
Subconsciously, you're closing your eyes to the truth. That's why you haven't touched on the hole in your reasoning.
What hole?
Whatever, that's enough. Just ignore this guy and keep going.
Oh, hey!
Yuma. Yuma.
Jeez, go away!
You know what I'm talking about, don't you? The huge hole in this investigation?
Why am I not running in the
What
main
are
path
you-
anymore?
Just ignore him.
There we go.
Let's review your deduction, shall we? The culprit took advantage of Amapau's locked position and entered the lab. And before the robot entered the room, that person stabbed the doctor from behind. However, they bumped into Amapau while escaping, causing it to fall over. That was obviously a mistake, but since it wasn't captured on video, they were able to avoid detection. After that, the culprit went inside the decontamination device in the airlock to hide from you.
That's correct. So what's the hole in my deduction?
It's before all of that. It remains the case's greatest mystery.
How did the hitman
Which
survive
is?
the security?
How did the culprit get past security?
What?
We already told you that.
No.
The culprit rode on top of Amapau as Master controlled it and was taken all the way to the doctor's lab.
No, he's taken through
But-
security.
If someone was riding on it,
They didn't get
how did they get past the high
security.
voltage shocks in the panel chamber?
Oh,
How did they survive security?
This is the end for you! You have nowhere left to go!
oh, come on! Why now?
I won't let you maggots ruin the peace of Kanai Ward! As the king of Amaterasu Corporation and the guardian of Kanai Ward, I will stop you here and now!
Perhaps this too is an obsession. Why does he insist on covering up the truth? Tell me, what will you do, Yuma? Are you going to stay willfully blind?
No, I'll fight. Whether it's subconscious or not, I won't look away from the truth. I'll find the truth no matter what. This is for the Chief and everyone at the Nocturnal Detective Agency.
Good luck! You'll never find it. You'll scurry around this labyrinth forever, like blind mice. You'll rot away in it, looking for an answer that will never come!
Two outcomes, neither good. Reasoning deathmatch, round 5. Finish him? Ghost form trace security log, high voltage, and Fubuki's
Keep
forte.
playing with your shit deductions. You still haven't solved the greatest mystery! How did the culprit get past the security? The critical
God,
lab
that's tricky.
security system was always live. There was no way to reach the doctor. The panel chamber shocks would have fried the culprit. That security system? No living human can breach it.
No, there is a living human that can breach it.
I'll slash through this mystery.
You can brute force it. Like we did.
A human could get past the panel chamber by using Fubuki's forte. In fact, that's how we got past the panels, the high-voltage shocks kept destroying Amapel.
Well,
But
only
we
once.
reversed time every time that happened.
Correct. So whenever it was struck by the current, you went back in time. But while that was occurring, the culprit, a human, was riding on top of Amapel. That person was burnt to a crisp every time you failed.
But
Which means you killed the culprit over and over again.
Vivia,
If only you had chosen to remain ignorant, I would have walked beside you in silence. But if you intend to seek the truth, then I must stand in your way.
what are you doing? Why are you doing this?
He's going to betray you, Master.
Betray me?
It's up to you, Yuma. This is your final chance to save the world you believe in. What are you going to do? It's time to decide your past and your future.
Why, Vivia?
Ghost form traits, toxic gas properties, stab wound, eyewitness, electrical room eyewitness. Right before the blackout, a researcher witnessed a dark silhouette pass through the shadows. The researcher claims it must have been the hitman. Okay.
How
just
did the
found out.
culprit bypass the toxic gas chamber? It's impossible to avoid the gas. The culprit would surely die. You should already know this, right? The gas is a special trait. The gas can see through even a gas mask. No ability can nullify its toxicity. Once it hits you, you're done for. You die before reaching Weska.
Well, no, it takes a half an hour. I do like this where Vivia becomes an obstacle for you. I do like this twist a lot.
If you pass through the toxic gas, you'll die. But you'll have 30 minutes before it kills you. Which means you could survive for 30 minutes.
What? Don't tell me.
There are no gas masks here that can block this toxic gas, and no fortes that can nullify it. There's only one way you could get through it. You do nothing. You endure it in hopes of Amapel taking you to the next room.
Then the culprit didn't do anything to counteract it and just passed through the toxic gas?
It's the only explanation that makes sense. This is the truth.
There wouldn't have been room for a spacesuit in that cramped space.
I can't believe it. But if the culprit really did just endure the toxic gas,
They knew they were gonna die.
And they...
the culprit is...
It appears you finally glimpsed the truth. Yuma. Well, how does it feel to have your world shatter before your eyes? Isn't this what you wanted?
What's he talking about?
Yomi's mystery phantom. and Fifia are both right. Subconsciously, I didn't want to know the truth.
Huh?
Up until now, the Mystery Labyrinth was withholding the mysteries that led to the culprit. And that's because it's a reflection of my own reluctance.
Master, what's wrong? Do you know who the culprit is? It's the hitman, right?
The truth is worthless. Nothing has less value in this isolated, rainy city. No one wants the truth. Not even you!
Turns out Vivia was doing his absolute best to
Rot
protect
away
us
and
as a
die
friend.
right here!
Doing
No
everything
one will
he
get
could.
in my way! Kanai Lord, Amaterasu! They both belong to me! If the culprit carried out the crime like you deduced, then they should be dead from the toxic gas. But no one at the scene has died from poisoning. If you can understand that much, then what are you still doing here?
You're right that no one in that lab died from that toxic gas. But that was part of the culprit's plan from the beginning. They planned to distort the facts of their death.
Yuma, are you sure you want to face the truth? Your world will fall apart. The world that you believed in.
Your deduction is wrong. Don't disturb the peace. It's not even worth debating. Is this the best you can do to refute it? Just give up and die!
Oh, misread that.
With this, I'll expose the truth! The culprit misrepresented their death by using the hitman. The culprit realized their plan would be exposed if someone in the lab died from toxic gas. So they used the hitman to cover up their own death.
Used the hitman?
Meaning, the hitman wasn't hired to assassinate the doctor. They were hired to cover up the culprit's death by toxic gas.
Huh? The hitman's target was the culprit? Not the doctor?
At least Yuma wasn't responsible
Doctor
for the
was
death this
stabbed
time.
by the knife with the inscribed F. Doesn't that belong to the hitman?
All you would need is a similar knife. The story of Fink the Slaughter Artist using a knife inscribed with the letter F is well known.
Nah, we leave it alone until we receive further orders. Did you see the knife stuck in his back? It's the one that Fink the Slaughter Artist uses, right? I've heard about his knives inscribed with the letter F.
So, it was all a ruse? The real culprit made it look like the hitman did it?
Stop. Stop, 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 stop! You useless garbage! To hell with detectives and the truth! I won't let you have your way in my city! There is no real culprit! Dr. Weska was killed by the hitman!
Huh? What's going on? Who is the real culprit?
The real culprit. The real culprit is...
The time has finally come, Yuma. It's time for you to acknowledge what you've known all along. If the tiny crack spreads any further, the mirror will shatter, exposing the chaos of the real world. Knowing this, will you still expose the truth? Then, show me your conviction.
The clues pointing to the identity of the hitman's target. I know. I've known all along.
Now, expose the truth. Do it if you want to burn the world down.
Defeat Yomi with a key. And we'll do that next time, because we do have the proper key, and we have known the entire time. Hey YouTube, you're going to find out tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, I appreciate it. If you enjoyed what you saw, let me know. Give me a like, leave me comments. Remember to subscribe. I'll see you then. Twitch, I need to take a quick break. Boo is kind of bugging me. I think it's time for food, and I need to potty, so I'll be right back.